to this platform where I had intention of making you understand how to solve questions that comes like this. So this question is from algebra, from algebraic expression. So the question says that for what values of x is this algebraic fraction undefined? Undefined. So for what values of x is this algebraic fraction x squared minus 9x plus 18 all over x squared plus 2x minus 35 undefined? So whenever you come across this kind of question where you are asked to find the value of a particular variable, where the algebraic fraction will be undefined, what you actually do is you set the denominator, however lengthy the denominator is, you set it equal to 0. This is because when you press your calculator, when you use your calculator and you decide to divide any number by 0, you realize that the answer will be 0. The answer will be undefined, to be indeterminate. It may be syntax error, mathematical error, depending on whichever kind of calculator you are using, depending on the calculator you are using. So that is why whenever you are asked to find the value of a variable which makes an algebraic fraction undefined, you are meant to set the denominator of such a algebraic fraction equal to 0. So in order to approach this question, our denominator here is x squared plus 2x minus 35. Alright, so we have to set that equal to 0. We have to set that equal to 0. So we say that x squared plus 2x minus 35 equal to 0. So you realize that this is a quadratic equation. On setting the denominator equal to 0, we are getting a quadratic equation. So how do we solve for the values of x? Because since the highest power of x here is 2, that means x should have two different values. It can be different values, it may be the same values, but it should have two values. So let's go ahead with our quadratic equation knowledge. Here I will be using factorization method. So for factorization method, we think of two numbers that let's first multiply the x squared here by minus 35. So that will give us minus 35x squared. So we have to think of two numbers that when we multiply, two terms that when we multiply them together, when we multiply these two terms together, they will give us minus 35x squared. So firstly, we start with a sign. There should be a negative sign and a positive sign, but let's not decide. We can't decide yet. So let's think of the numbers first. The numbers that we can multiply together, the factors that can produce minus 35x squared on multiplication are 7 times 5 and also 35 times 1. So but as we are here to decide whether to use 7 times 5 or 35 times 1, there is another factor, another determinant, another thing we need to consider that will tell us if we are to use 7 and 5 or 35 and 1. The second thing is, firstly we need to put x. We need to involve x for the 2 x here. So on putting x here, this will turn 1 times x is 1x. So there is no way we can, because these two factors we are using, when we sum them up, when we add them up, they should give us plus 2x. They have to give us plus 2x. So if you look at, there is no way we can combine 35x and 1x together and we get a positive 2x. There is no way we can do that. It can only be possible with 7x and 5x. So if if we are to decide which of these two to use, it will be 7 and 5, because there is a way we can combine 7 and 5 with respect to addition, and we get a plus 2x. Now, to determine that, since we know that we are trying to bend 7x and 5x to produce 35x squared and a negative 1. So it means that a sign has to be negative and the other one has to be positive. A sign has to be positive, a sign has to be negative. They have to be opposite signs to produce a negative product due to rule of sign. So we know that it's only when two opposite signs are multiplying each other that you will get a negative answer. So because of that, we have to give either 7x negative sign or 5x negative sign. So it has to be opposite signs. Now, in order to decide that, the smartest way to decide which number will take the negative or the positive is, you go to that particular number you want to produce with their sum, which is this 2x. What is the sign of the 2x? It is plus. So the sign of this 2x, which is plus, will eventually go to the bigger one out of the two. So the bigger one is the 7. So this will be the plus, and we give the negative to the 5x. So it means that the factors we'll be using here are plus 7x and minus 5x. So what will happen is we would replace plus 2x. We will replace plus 2x here, this plus 2x, with plus 7x and minus 5x. So that will turn this quadratic equation, this entire quadratic equation will turn x squared plus 7x minus 5x minus 35. So equals to 0. So the only difference between this equation now and this is that the plus 2x has been written in another form, which is plus 7x minus 5x. You realize that when you solve this particular two terms, you get your plus 2x back. So but we have to do this since we are using factorization method of quadratic equation to solve for the values of x. So because of that, we proceed. We'll separate these two parts. So we have x squared plus 7x, and we have minus 5x minus 35 equal to 0. So having that, we look at what is the common factor here. X is common. So when we bring one x out, we have 1x inside plus 7, the negative sign. What is a common factor here? The common factor here is 5. So we bring the 5 out. When you bring 5 out of 5x, you have just x here. Now, minus divided by minus will give you a positive sign, because what you have in brackets must be the same. So minus divided by minus should give you the positive sign. So 35 divided by 5 will give you 7. So what I've done here also is 5x divided by 5, which gave me x equal to 0. So now the two terms that are like the coefficient of the brackets will be brought together. So that will be x minus 5. Then we'll pick one of the two brackets that are similar, x plus 7 equal to 0. So the only thing that can make x minus 5 and x plus 7, the product of the two of them, the only thing that can make the product of x minus 5, that is x minus 5 times x plus 7, to be equal to 0 is if x minus 5 itself is 0, or x plus 7 is equal to 0. So this is what I'm trying to explain there. What I'm trying to explain there is that if you say a times b or ab is 0, what it means is that a times b is 0, and what will make that possible is maybe if a is 0 or b itself is 0, or even the two, both a and b are equal to 0. So that is why we usually say that x minus 5 is equal to 0 or x plus 7 is equal to 0, because their product can only give you 0 if either or both of the two are zeros. So let's proceed. From this place, I stopped here initially. So from there, we have x equal to 0 plus 5 on collecting like terms, and for this side, we have x equal to 0 minus 7 on collecting like terms, so that x is 5 or x is minus 7. So the values of x So finally, the values of x for which the fraction, you can place the fraction, you can rewrite the fraction, this is the fraction, you can rewrite it, is undefined are, or you can use is either 5 or -7. Also, those are the two values of x that they requested. Sorry, I said the values of x for which the fraction is undefined is either 5 or -7. So you realize that if you replace these x values here as 5, the entire denominator will turn 0. You realize that if you fix x values here as 5, you realize that the entire denominator will turn 0. If you also replace the x values with -7, the entire denominator will turn 0. So thank you very much. That's the solution to that particular question. I have another form of question where the question is, for what values of x will this fraction vanish? For what values of x will this fraction vanish? So for this one, if you look at from your recent knowledge of mathematics, when you divide 0 by a number, no matter how big the number is, your answer will be a 0, which means the number has vanished. So whenever you have to find the values of a number, the values of a variable for which the entire fraction will vanish, what you just have to do is, unlike the undefined case where you set the denominator equal to 0, this one where it will vanish, it is the numerator, not the denominator this time around. It is the numerator, the fraction on top, the expression on top that you set equal to 0. So let me write this fraction properly. So it should look like this: x cubed minus 5x squared plus 6x all over 2x plus 3. So that's what this question entirely means. Now in order to find out the value of x for which this will vanish, you set the numerator, which is x cubed minus 5x squared plus 6x. You set it equal to 0. So on setting it equal to 0, the next thing you do is you now find the values of x. Now, since each of these terms has x in them, we divide through by x. Or you say you factorize. Let us see that. Let's say we factorize x out. We factorize. That's the right thing to do. We factorize x out. So factorizing x out, we bring x outside. We have x squared minus 5x plus 6 equal to 0. So this actually means x is either equal to 0 or x squared, like what I explained earlier, minus 5x plus 6 equal to 0. Now let's go back to this. Sorry, I didn't know the last statement wasn't appearing on the screen. I said this simply means x is equal to 0, like what I explained earlier, or x squared minus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. Now let's go back to the equation we have here. We have a polynomial kind of equation here where the highest power of x is 3, is more than 2. So what this indicates is that we are going to get 3 values for x. Some may be similar and they may be entirely different. All the values may be entirely different. So we have gotten one value as x equal to 0. So we need to solve this quadratic equation x squared minus 5x plus 6 for that to get another two values for x, but we already have a value. We have one value already for x, which is 0. So let's find out what the other two values will be. So let's bring down this quadratic equation. X squared minus 5x plus 6 equal to 0. So just like what we did before, by the time you find out the factors that will work out to produce 6x squared, a positive one, since this is plus 6x squared, you realize that it is 3 and 2 that will work out, and then we'll have to involve x. So when we multiply the two of them, since it's a positive sign, it is to get a positive sign in multiplication, because it is the multiplication of these two that should give you plus 6x squared. Is either the two signs are positive or the two signs are negative. Now, how are we going to know whether we are to use the two positive signs or the two negative signs to produce this plus? We come back to this middle one, that is the coefficient of x here is 5. So which sign can we use for these two of them such that when we add the two together, they will give us minus 5x? It has to be the two negative signs. It has to be the negative signs for the two of them. So when you add these two, minus 3x minus 2x, you get a negative 5x, and if you multiply these two numbers, you get a positive 6x squared. So these are the factors we'll be using. So we replace the entire the minus 5x in the equation with the 5x in this equation, the minus 5x in this equation with minus 3x minus 2x. So we now have, from here we have x squared. Instead of minus 5x, we have minus 3x minus 2x plus 6 equal to 0. So every other thing remains the same. The only thing that changed was the minus 5x, and it's still minus 3 minus 2x, and which is still the same as minus 5x. So now we can separate them so that we can factorize out easily. X minus 3x will be in a bracket. We have minus 2x plus 6 equal to 0. So now x is a common factor here, so we bring out x. We have x, 3x divided by x will give us 3. That's a negative 3. Then this minus sign. Sorry, I said I brought x out since x is common, so I brought 1x out. Since 1x is out, this x will remain x. Then minus 3x divided by x will give us 3. Then you have minus 2 is the common factor here. You bring out the 2. When you bring out the 2, you have only x left here when you divide 2x by 2x by 2. Alright, so 6 plus divided by minus will give you a negative sign, and then we have 6 divided by 2 equals 3. So we realize that we have the same things in the bracket. So now the coefficients of the brackets will be brought together. That's x and minus 2. Then x, one of the common terms in the bracket will be brought, expressions in the bracket rather, will also be outside. So I said earlier that x minus 2, x minus 3 is equal to 0. This can only be possible if either x minus 2 is equal to 0 or x minus 3 is equal to 0, or even the two of them are equal to 0. So the next thing to do here is that we just say that x is equal to 0 plus 2 on collecting like terms, x is equal to 0 plus 3 on collecting like terms. So we now have x equal to 2 or x equal to 3. So now you can give your values. Remember that x was also equal to 0, so I've returned that value of x equal to 0 also. So the values of x for which the expression, the fraction, will be vanishing, the value of x for which this fraction will vanish are those values of x that we have gotten, which are x2, x equal to 2, x equal to 3, and x is equal to 0. X equal to 2, x equal to 3, and x equal to 0. Please make sure you study this and practice with some other questions from your textbooks or any other source. Thank you very much.